All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into something that almost all of us have felt, but practically no one actually understands. I'm talking about that weird, modern sense of existential dread. We're going to unpack exactly why you might feel strangely hollow or empty inside, even when your life looks perfectly fine on paper. And obviously, we're not just going to leave it there. We're going to look at the actual, concrete, biological steps to fix it. So get ready, because this is going to completely flip how you think your brain is actually wired.
Okay, so picture this. It's Sunday afternoon. Nothing is actually wrong. You're not sick, you're not in any physical danger, you're sitting in a safe place, and your fridge is totally full. But there's this heavy, visceral weight right in your chest. It kind of feels like an empty room, you know? Like a really loud machine humming away with absolutely zero programs running. If you've ever felt like you're just floating in this dark void of empty space, listen to me. You are not alone. And honestly, you've probably spent years calling this feeling being broken. You might think there's some deep flaw in your mindset or your psychology, but I promise you right now, you aren't broken. Section 1. The weight of nothing.
Okay, let's really dive into this. Because that hollow feeling, it isn't a symptom of a broken mind. It's actually a massive structural misunderstanding of your own biology. We have this tendency to think of the human mind as this fragile thing that we need to protect from stress and weight at all costs, right? But human biology is incredibly robust. Think of your brain exactly like a massive suspension bridge. These bridges are literal marvels of engineering, and they are designed specifically to hold tension. The cables, those huge towers, the deep anchors, every single piece of it exists just to manage a heavy load. So what happens if you take away all the cars, the trucks, all that weight? The bridge doesn't just suddenly relax and go, finally. No. Without tension, the whole structure basically loses its purpose. It starts to feel pointless. And that's you. You are not depressed or broken. You are a high-tension structure with absolutely nothing to carry.
Which brings us to Section 2, the modern survival trap.
See, we live in a world that has essentially engineered the tension completely out of our daily lives. Think about it. We've automated survival. We've got clean running water the second we turn a handle. Climate control keeping us at a perfect 72 degrees year-round. Strawberries in January. It's a miracle. But because of this, it creates a massive biological mismatch inside your head. Because the brain you have, the exact same brain that evolved over thousands of years to obsessively track water sources and hunt for basic survival, is the one you're currently using to, scroll through a digital to-do list while sitting on the couch? A to-do list you probably feel kind of guilty about ignoring anyway. Modern life basically solved all those ancient survival quests for you, and it just sort of assumed you'd figure out how to replace them on your own. But let's be real, most of us haven't.
And because we don't have those built-in survival quests anymore, society tries to fill that void with what I like to call directions. We hear this vague advice all the time, right? Be happier, find your passion, achieve work-life balance. But here's the problem. Your biological hardware literally cannot compute a direction. You can't ever actually arrive at finding balance. It's this endless, formless, impossible task. Your brain evolved to seek out destinations, concrete, physical endpoints that you can undeniably reach and say, I'm here. When you try to replace a concrete destination with a vague direction, your brain just starts spinning its wheels.
Section 3. The default mode network. Now, what's really fascinating about this is what happens when those wheels start spinning. Because when your brain is doing absolutely nothing, it still consumes an insane amount of energy. Enter the default mode network. When you aren't sharply focused on a specific concrete task, this highly active brain system completely takes over. And what does it do? It replays those super embarrassing moments from the past, it worries nonstop about the future, and it runs these incredibly vivid simulations of absolute catastrophe. Without a real target to aim at, your idle brain just converts all that immense mental energy into rumination and free-floating anxiety. Honestly, this is exactly why vacations start to feel weirdly restless and uncomfortable by day 3. You take away the structure of your daily life, and suddenly the static of your idle brain gets way louder than the beautiful scenery around you.
So what do we usually do when that static gets too loud? We distract ourselves. We endlessly scroll on our phones, or we binge watch an entire season of a show without moving. But distraction is basically just changing the channel to drown out the static. It does absolutely nothing to fix the actual signal. The structural issue, that default mode network running wild, is completely unresolved. You're just masking the noise of an engine that is literally begging you to put it in drive.
Section 4. The agency paradox.
But look, it's not just about doing anything at all to stay busy. The actual type of thing we do matters immensely. We have to talk about why modern work leaves us feeling so incredibly drained, and why just taking a nap doesn't fix that specific kind of exhaustion. There's this famous psychological experiment that perfectly illustrates this. Researchers put two groups of people in a room and blasted them with this loud, random, super annoying noise. Now, Group A had a button on their desk, and they were told, hey, if it gets to be too much, hit this to stop the noise. Group B had no button at all. The results were wild. Group A performed significantly better on cognitive tasks and registered far less physiological stress than Group B. But here is the kicker. Most of the people in Group A never actually pressed the button. Not even once.
And this brilliantly illustrates something absolutely crucial: agency. Agency is that felt connection between your effort and the outcome. Just knowing that they could act completely changed the internal biological experience for the people in Group A. The mere illusion of agency protected them from stress. And this is exactly why bureaucratic hurdles at work are so deeply draining. When you put in the effort but the needle doesn't move because of endless red tape, that link between your action and the reward just snaps. You lose your agency. And that causes a deep existential burnout that simply resting on the couch is never going to cure.
Section 5. The anatomy of a quest.
So, if distraction doesn't work and resting doesn't cure our lack of agency, how do we actually fix this hollow feeling? Well, we do it by adopting what we call a quest. And let me be really clear here. I'm not talking about some mystical calling you find by meditating on a mountain. A quest is a very specific, practical, biological structure. So the crucial point is knowing how to build it. A real quest needs 4 unbreakable pillars. First, a concrete endpoint. Your brain has to know exactly what done looks like. Second, real obstacles. You need genuine friction. A story without obstacles isn't a narrative, guys. It's just a receipt. Third, visible progress. You have to feel that gap closing between where you are and the finish line over time. And fourth, stakes. Failure has to sting just a little bit. Because if nothing happens when you quit, your brain files the task under optional. And optional things, they just do not engage your neural hardware.
Now, this actually completely flips standard self-help advice right on its head. People are always telling you, wait until you find your passion before committing to doing something hard. But biology tells us the exact opposite. You are never going to find your passion just sitting in an empty room. Passion follows the quest. It's the heat generated by friction. It develops actively while you are in the trenches, doing something difficult, hitting walls and overcoming them. You have to start the quest first.
Let's move to the practical side and see how this builds into an actual roadmap you can use right now. Step 1. Pick a completable task. Don't just say, I want to get fit. That's a direction. Instead say, I am going to run the City 5K on October 12th. Step 2. Map the obstacles. Name the friction out loud before it hits you, like, yeah, waking up at 6 a.m. to train is going to suck. Step 3. Build markers. Set those weekly checkpoints so your brain actually sees the visible progress. Step 4. Add social stakes. Tell a friend you're doing it, so if you suddenly quit, there's a real social cost. And finally, step 5, let it be hard. When that alarm goes off and you just want to quit, realize that the resistance you're feeling, that is the structure of the quest finally engaging your brain. That friction is literally the medicine you've been looking for.
So, that hollow, empty feeling on a Sunday afternoon, it isn't a sign that you're broken, not at all. It is a loud, biological alarm bell telling you that your operating system is idling and it is absolutely desperate to run. Your structure was meticulously designed over millennia for tension. So, give it some. Challenge yourself. Go finish building that bookshelf that's been sitting in the garage. Learn how to play that complicated song on the guitar. Sign up for the race. Give your mind something heavy to carry. And just watch as that existential dread transforms into the exact fuel you need to thrive. So what's it going to be? Are you going to leave your engine idling, or are you finally going to put it in gear?